Hey y'all, welcome to New Slang. I'm music journalist Thomas Mooney. We start off this week with episode 111, where I'm joined by singer-songwriter Ashley Ray. I caught up with Ashley a while back to talk about her new record, Pauline, which is released this Friday, August 14th. Ashley enlisted one of her longtime buddies and collaborators to produce Pauline, one of our favorites over here on New Slang, Mr. Sean McConnell. That's one of my favorite parts of this interview too. You primarily think of Sean as a songwriter and a performer, and there's plenty of great commentary from Ashley about him being both of those, but she also gives some really great insight about him being a producer and working with him on that side of things. One of my favorite things about Pauline is the delicate and careful attention to these songs and the overall mood and feel of the album. You really sink into these songs. It feels like you're sitting on a couch or something, and Ashley is flipping through an old photo album or something. As she's flipping through the pages, she's pointing out different photos and kind of giving the backstory of that person or why that photo was taken there or whatever the case is. And of course, that doesn't mean that she's just telling introspective stories that are serious. You feel like the gritty charm and like just a little bit of attitude of a song like the infectious dirty work just as much as you do on something that's maybe a little bit more intimate and contemplative, like the song Just a House. You need all those parts of the puzzle for this record. The hometown love lettery nature of a song like Lawrence, Kansas, it tells just as much about Ashley as the sparse nature and the frustration of being a struggling artist in the song Waiting. I find it fascinating the way she's been able to write these songs because you do feel you get so much backstory about Ashley and a lot of her emotional ties to Lawrence, Kansas and becoming an artist and family. And a lot of these songs, she is letting her guard down and inviting you in to see these very vulnerable moments. But at the same time, it feels like she's sometimes kind of pushing the persona of these characters a little bit further out, blurring that line between fact and fiction. And I just find this entire record just really incredibly fascinating, and I just keep on going back to it again just to try and like understand another layer of the record and these stories. And again, the record comes out this Friday. She does have a few songs out already. I would suggest go checking out a song like Dirty Work or Just the House. Today's presenting sponsor is Desert Door Texas Soto. If you know anything about me, it's probably that I'm from the heart of West Texas and absolutely love everything about West Texas. And that's really why I love Desert Door so much. You may be asking yourself what exactly Soto is. Well, it's a premium spirit that's similar to a tequila or a mezcal, but for my money, it's a little bit more refined and smooth. There's a sweetness and faint hints of vanilla and citrus. And it's also as versatile as your garden variety vodka. At its core, Desert Door is authentically West Texas. They go out and harvest Soto plants from the wild and bring them back to their distillery over in Driftwood, Texas. So next time you're at your local liquor store, get a bottle of Desert Door. For more info, check this episode's show notes. If this is your first time listening to New Slang, I strongly suggest hitting that subscribe link. If you just did, I'm giving you a virtual high five right now. New Slang is over on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, and basically any and everywhere you listen to podcasts. Go check out the New Slang merch store, grab a koozie, some stickers, buttons, and magnets. Any bit helps. I'll throw a link into the show notes. And if you're into playlists, go check out Tom Mooney's Cup of Coffee and the Neon Eon playlists over on Spotify. The Neon Eon is for all your nostalgic 90s country needs, which there's going to be more Neon Eon related stuff coming your way pretty soon. And then Tom Mooney's Cup of Coffee is a regularly updated mix of new Americana and country music. It's also a really great hint at who I have coming up on the podcast. So yeah, go follow those. All right, that's enough rambling here. Here is Ashley Ray. Yeah, so I guess I came across Dirty Work the other day, and from there started looking back in and trying to figure out what this record was going to be and it feels like there's so much of this record is like I guess like a collection of like vignettes that are like these snapshot memories for you. Um, is that kind of what it is? Is like these songs that are kind of like um, have a lot of like roots and basis in like old memories that you just kind of are just have just never really left you.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a memoir put to music. I'm a huge reader. My favorite thing to read is memoir. I just love people and stories. Obviously, I'm a songwriter, and I love more so listening to stories. And I never. It took me a long time to be able to write about what hurt, um, for a few reasons. I mean, you got to go there. You got to write about the triggers and the things that hurt and bring it up again and dig into it. And I wasn't ready to do that for a really long time. I mean, this is my third record. And I'm, not in my 20s anymore. And so there was that. And then when you bring up those wounds yourself, then you bring up the memories and the wounds of the people you love, your family. And I was afraid to do that. I wanted it to be honest and real, because we've gone through a lot, and I still wanted it to be something that wouldn't trigger them completely. And we choose to talk about the people we've lost, every time we're together, and remember the good times. And so yeah, this was putting memories to music for me completely. So what you described is me just talking. I was in the studio with Sean McConnell. He's one of my dear friends, and he produced the whole record. And I mean, we would just sit up in his studio at his house, and I would just talk about my family, and we would write. You're probably sorry. You're gonna hear some snorts and some snores. I am house sitting and pug sitting for my bass player and friend, and I've got 3 pugs here, so you might hear some snorts.
Yeah, of all the dogs that probably snort the most.
Yeah, and the little one is like 6 months old, and she's currently like, I just have to watch her like a hawk because she will eat the couch. She will, she's just like this little smashed in eyeball. She's so cute.
My little brother had a pug when um okay, so like my brother and me are like 14 years apart. So when he was little, I wasn't little, but he had one when he was, I don't know, a toddler or so, and that thing was like both the most like frustrating dog and like the like the dog that you wanted to cuddle up with the most. Like it was just
I know. Okay, this is currently an antler. She's like wrestling. Okay. Um, yeah, they all 3 slept with me. So 2 of them, the 2 oldest ones, they're getting up there in years, um, and then the small one is like 6 months old. So I'm seeing all sides of pug life over here.
yeah. um, you mentioned Sean McConnell.
Yeah.
He's been on the podcast before. That was in person back when we could do that. But yeah, you obviously like you've co-written with him and he produced this. And I guess like what was it about where I guess like at that moment when you realized what the record was going to be conceptually, like that it was going to be these revolve around these memories and about these uh, people, family people, and did he push you, help you like find, I guess, like that direction? Did he encourage, like, what was like that interaction between you two as far as like really kind of like forming this as a kind of like a family portrait book or something?
Yeah. Um, Well, he and his wife have been two of my very best friends for, oh my gosh, over 15 years, probably closer to 20. Okay. And so I felt at one point I had lost a record deal, and I was just really down and jaded. Actually, it was the second record deal I had lost. What happened a couple of times is I would turn in music. We would get the okay, and I would turn in music, and it just wasn't what they said was, radio friendly. And so I ended up losing a deal, and I made a record with Jay Joyce, who produced both of my records. Before this one, and he's the only producer I ever had before Sean. And I don't know if you're familiar with Jay. He's incredible. Mm-hmm. He produced actually the last this most recent Miranda Lambert record, all of Eric Church. So Sean had said one day, I think we were writing for, not this record. Okay. We were writing for not for Pauline, but for something else. And he had said, Ash, there's this part of you, because I was really like down in the dumps. And he's like, there's this part of you that nobody has seen before. Everybody thinks of you as this badass that can like get up on a stage and like, just run across every inch of it and just like pour your heart out. But I feel like a lot of people don't see that side where you're sitting around a campfire and like you barely get through a song because you're feeling it so much. And then, there's your songwriting, like people are kind of missing that sometimes. And he was like, have you ever thought of making that your next direction and getting like super vulnerable? And I was like, I didn't know that was, the perception as a whole. And so I was thinking about that, and I actually thought about it for a few months. And, I was back waiting tables again. And so I guess long story short, I came home one day and this chorus like basically came to me. And as a songwriter and creative person and artist, the feeling of when something comes to you that you have to chase. So I ended up kind of just writing the chorus to this song called Rock and Roll. And I sent it to Sean. I texted it to him, and I said, I'm working on this, but I really just have this feeling in my gut that this is something that that you need to help me finish. And he's like, okay. Usually when I say the gut, because we're both very much advocates of like your own intuition and your gut. And so he was like, okay, well, he always says like, see if you can finish it on your own. Like he's just an incredible friend, coach, everything. And so I just kept thinking, okay. And I knew I needed to write it with him. So we went in and we wrote the song Rock and Roll. And he said, Ashley, this is something, this is like the beginning of a fucking reckoning. And so that's when the record started, before we really even knew it. So yeah, he was able to, because we are so close and he's like a brother to me, I was able to cry. Like when we wrote every song on the record, I was able to actually like write the song, still be hurting so much, like open wound, that I was able to like bleed into the mic. Like I've never recorded like that ever before, to where it's just still so fresh that when you sing it, that there's lots of times I couldn't get through it. And I would say, I don't know why we're writing these songs, because I'm never going to be able to get on stage and sing them. Like, they hurt too much. So, but he was there to pour me a vodka tonic and just listen and help me put my life to music.
Right. Yeah. Like it seems that, yeah, when something can be so painful, it's very, very difficult for you to want to go there. But also, like, I guess like on another aspect of it is if I was doing it, I would maybe think like I would be insecure about do people really want to hear songs about me? You know what I mean? Is this too much of something where it's, do people think like I'm just like, I'm needing like the ego stroke or something? You get what I'm saying? Like, and I guess it's great.
Do. I was just about to say that, like, oh, that went through my head so many times. I was waiting tables again. I drive a 15-passenger van that's got 190,000 miles. I'm like, I'm writing these songs that are so personal, and I don't know why, like, I had gone through the whole, like, this won't work on radio. So that was like growing around in my head. But then it got to the point, Thomas, where I was just like, listen, I can't make this music right now without, like, I have to do this for me and for my family. And I just was able to, like, put that aside after some time, and just write it for me and, be okay with waiting tables and be okay with maybe nobody caring about it. But also deep inside me, I have always loved the voices and the stories that are so personal and that are so specific, that it's universal. And I didn't know that was happening. I didn't know I was writing that until, like, after we started kind of just playing it for people. And I was just doing it for me. I wasn't like getting, thinking about anybody but my family and I. And yeah, so totally, you're so right about that.
Yeah. A couple of these songs, it feels, I guess, like with the sonic qualities of it and what the songs are about. As far as like a song like St. Patrick's Day, it feels like you're very much like there's like that fog or phase or that haze, like in this memory that you're kind of like working through, and you're kind of like at times like where us as a listener, we can only like feel your hand pulling us through, and like then there's these real vivid images, but it's still like a little hazy and foggy because it feels like it very much feels like it's a memory that you're trying to put all those little pieces up. And like that's a song that has like, even like you mentioned, like the Bud Light sign and stuff like that, right?
Oh yeah,
that's like it feels like you're just kind of like trying to like reassemble that memory within that song. And I don't know, I just really like that kind of stuff right there. That is part nostalgia, part old memories, and part like trying to work through your own self and like trying to show parts of yourself to an audience.
Yeah. Thank you. That's it's easier and it's harder, I feel, and I don't know how you feel about this, but it's easier to write about something so specific, because when I think back about my dad, we lost him 12 years ago. And when I think back about him and, I played shitloads of dive bars. The majority of my shows are in, dive bars and theaters, and they have been for years. And so when I'm in there and I see Bud Light sign, jukebox, I think of my dad. Like I've always got his hanky with me. It's always on my guitar strap or on my wrist, and it's just like, I don't know that I would feel so comfortable and confident in these places. I feel like home, because I feel at home in a dive bar because I was raised in one, like I was raised drinking Shirley Temples with him, and I see the Bud Light sign, and it's at a bar in Lawrence, Kansas called West Coast Saloon, and it's just a bar and a strip mall, and it's like I go there, and it in a way feels like it was yesterday.
Yeah. Do you have like a love-hate relationship with like where your hometown kind of thing? I feel like a lot of people have that, where it takes like it takes getting away to like really fully appreciate it.
I don't have that. I
You,
love my hometown. I love going back. So I'm from Lawrence, Kansas, and it's a college town. Most of my friends went to KU, to Kansas University. And so I actually moved to Nashville when I was 18 and attended Belmont. And it's a Baptist school. So it was very different than Kansas, very, very different than KU. So I could go back and visit my friends and have the real college experience. And then, come back and have the real like school experience at Belmont. But I love my hometown. I was just back last month. It's just cool. There's a really cool downtown area, a little music scene there. A lot of people, when they're traveling Texas, they hit Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, and I love Lawrence so much. I wouldn't want to be from anywhere else.
yeah. See, I grew up in like a small town, like about 8,000, in the middle of it's Fort Stockton, the middle of West Texas. So like I find the growing up like in a college town, which I live in Lubbock and I've stay in Lubbock. I wonder how growing up in a college town that is like, just so focused on the center of the town, the core is a university, how that is, how that affects culture as far as like it still feels like even if you're in the middle of nowhere, you have that pocket of culture because of the college students. Is that like what it was growing up? What was like your early memories of like finding music and stuff like that?
Finding music. Well, you're absolutely right about the culture. It's all Kansas basketball there. I mean, my grandpa would come up on Saturday mornings. We'd get ready. We'd go to the Kansas, they called it band day. And so we'd go they had a parade. And, so I grew up like rock, chalk, Jayhawk, hardcore. So the culture was like really rich with, like having a team to root for. And then early memories of music were, I mean, my dad had a record player. He had it hooked to giant speakers. Bob Seger was always in our house. Like, I mean, I'm talking weekly. It's not daily. And I would wake up with music playing, and we lived on a farm and they had friends over, and I'd go to bed with music playing. He had his stash, his like little joint stash, and on top of the record player. And of course I didn't know what it was when I was little, but I just grew up with music just always playing in my house. And so that's how I think it's just, for as long as I can remember, it's just been something that I leaned on like a therapy. And they didn't push me to do music or anything. I mean, I just from a young age gravitated toward it. toward it. And so some of the earliest memories, I mean, I would, there's actually a video that will eventually, we have plans to put out, but it's my grandfather. He always had a camcorder, like one of the huge ones, just like on his shoulder attached, you know, like looking through the lens.
Yeah.
And I'm singing Bob Seger. I'm singing this song called Beautiful Loser. That's actually a song that my dad, my sister, and I like deemed our song. And so I mean, in my Levi jeans and my Minnie Mouse sweatshirt, I was just out there like performing concerts. So that would be like one of my earliest ones. Of course, there's pictures that I look back at now that I don't remember. And I'm like in the footy pajamas, like bald head. I'm like, I don't know, 1 or 2 playing a piano, like a little kid mini piano. And then, you know, growing up, I took guitar lessons at a young age, and my guitar teacher, Tom, he introduced me to so much music. He really got me, like, he introduced me to all the Americana artists, and my mom and dad more introduced me to like the classic rock, like some blues, roots, country, Willie Nelson, like just so I had different people introducing me to different corners and different genres of music. Yeah, it was just there, man.
Yeah, it's you saying like the old school camcorder, the ones that you had to pop in the VHS to record on.
Oh yeah,
that's okay. That's how my grandparents were when I was real little, and it's just like I wish people could understand like just how much more difficult it was to like capture these memories back then. It wasn't like you could just record on your phone, and obviously that's so much easier. But like now, you're just overloaded with it. The other thing I was wanting to say though too was and this is something exactly. I feel like I'm the old man right now. Get off my lawn, even though like I'm not that old. But it's like the old record player with the speakers is like that's how it used to be. Where now I guess you can you just buy. Most people buy the record player that has like the built-in with the CD and the cassette and all that kind of stuff. But like those where you had to like hook up the speakers, there was just that little bit of buzz to them, and that's where you really felt the music. And the same thing with the camcorder thing. There was like that little bit of that like phase filter thing going, where it didn't really look like that in 1989 or whatever.
Yeah, you're so right. Oh, that makes me really tender.
Yeah, it's just like a warmness to all that stuff. I don't know, like it's just have that nostalgia. I wanted to pick back up on you talking about, your previous label saying, this isn't radio friendly. You kind of have that on Waiting, where you're talking about that frustration, that all of that, just that pressure of you moved to Nashville, like you said, at 18, and it not going like, where you're a superstar overnight. I'm sure you didn't expect that, but like also at the same time, it is, I'm assuming like it'd have to be frustrating to not necessarily put your dreams on hold, but like reassess your dreams, I guess, and realize that, what you're doing is still really pretty cool.
Yeah, you said it. I've been through all of that. I've been through the place in my mind where it's, maybe I'm just going to create art for other people. Maybe I'm just going to write with other writers and just be on records that way. Maybe I'm, my voice is too different for people to gravitate towards it. It's been a long time. It's been 17 years in Nashville and almost half of my life. Like half of my life is in Kansas, and it's coming up on half of it being here. And it's, now you know how old I am. And, and, it's, that line, or it's, thank God I didn't know, like, how goddamn long a dream takes to come true. Like, thank God I didn't know at 22 how goddamn long a dream takes to come true. Like, I said that because I really thank the Lord. Like, the Lord. Like, I really am like, I wouldn't have done it if I knew how hard. And I mean, it's been like constant ups and downs, and it's, I don't know if I would have found another way to do music. I believe, or I'd like to think that I would, or to, be a writer in some other capacity. But I'm really glad I didn't know that it was going to, take this long and hurt. And that little bit of the dreamer in me and a little bit of naiveness really went a long way. And you're right. I didn't think I was going to be an overnight success, but in my mind, I kind of thought, okay, I'll go to Belmont for 2 years. Then I'll be too busy touring that I can't go to school. I wasn't thinking I'll be this big superstar. I was just thinking that, like, I was going to be doing music full time. And I ended up getting my degree and finishing, which I'm really grateful and glad. It just, things never happen the way we have them in our minds, I don't think. So yeah, waiting is, every bit of it's true. I landed that tour with Eric Church when he was selling out bars and clubs and theaters, and I was just like, here we go, like, this is happening. And it was. And then, of course, label didn't. It's still hard today. That was 10 years ago. It's still hard for females to be on the radio today. And so I've always had to just pivot. But the one thing that has never changed is the music that I write. If I cut an outside song, it's got to be something that I feel to the bone, like, that I would wish so hard that I would have written. That's something that, as music is constantly changing with technology and everything, I look back on all, the first 2 records and this record especially, and I'm proud of every song. Like, it's not something where somebody pushed me into making a record or songs that I'm like, oh man, that wasn't me. And so I'm proud of that. Like I said, I don't know what's going to happen with this record, whatever capacity. I just want to tour it and bring it to people and share it with them. And I want them to share their stories with me. And I'm off on a tangent. I'm very windy.
I wanted to talk to y'all one more time about our new partners at Desert Door and offer up a handful of my favorite ways to drink it. Get you a Mexican Coca-Cola, have a couple of swigs, then pour yourself some Desert Door Oak aged in, toss in a lime wedge or two, or how about this? Pour some Desert Door into a mug, top off the glass with some ginger beer, squeeze in a lime, or for all you ranch water drinkers out there, get you a Topo Chico, take a couple of pulls off, and then pour in some Desert Door. Toss in a couple of lime wedges, and now you have a mighty tasty and refreshing ranch water. Remember, Sotol is as versatile as vodka and has a more refined, smooth, and a more complex palate than tequila. It's rich and balanced, and whatever your go-to drink is, it'll make it that much better. And again, it's inherently West Texas. It tastes like home. For more info on Desert Door, check our show notes. All right, that's it for Thomas Mooney's Cocktail Minute. Let's get back to the show.
Like you saying the whole, like I like the being, like, I guess, naive and green, and at such a young age, you do have, like, this whole, like, oh, this is how it's going to work. You have it all planned out. That's something I can relate to, not as a songwriter, obviously, but I thought this was going to be so much easier
Yeah.
going in, and then like all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, like, and I've had that conversation with myself and with other people about like, would I have done all this had I known at the time, like how much work it was going to be and how much time and how much just all of the pressure of that you put on yourself, obviously, but then also like, why is it this not working out?
Yeah.
And I think like I've realized,
What's the answer to that? Like, would you have still done it?
I probably wouldn't have done it the same way. Is all I
Yeah.
would say. That would probably be where I would have probably like just been gone into like newspaper kind of stuff or writing like more traditional kind of news for that, and rather than a focus on music. But like I don't know.
Well, we're grateful that,
Uh,
this for the support. I can probably speak to every artist on that,
yeah. Well, thank you. What I was gonna say though too is, like, did you? For me, like what I've realized, looking at music and looking at the industry of like who makes it, who quote unquote doesn't make it, all that stuff. Is so much of it is just like luck and timing. Is that like what you've kind of gone back onto? Is like realizing that so much of it is just the timing of it all?
I think so. You know, I don't think we actually do know. Um, but I do think a lot of it is timing, a lot of it is luck, a lot of it is, are you going to give up? Like at some point, I do believe if you keep going, you have this dream and you don't quit, if you quit something, you're going to, I think, fail, obviously, because you're never going to get anywhere close to where you've been aiming. And um, yeah, I think so. It's that like forging ahead and sticking with it and knowing that, listen, if you want it to come easy, um, it's probably not going to. So just get in there and know that you're going to have to pivot sometimes. I mean, I've said that every single day during this time with quarantine, like releasing a record. I mean, we've had to pivot. We want to be respectful of the times and the movement and everything that's happening. And there's absolutely more days where I need, to get out there and fight for equality and good things for all people in this world, nothing political or anything, just like fight for the greater good of humans more than I need to promote my record. And it's I think it's a lot of things, also huge it's the team that you surround yourself with. I don't think you can, I mean, there's different ways to do things, especially with technology now. You can get discovered on YouTube. So I guess kind of you've done things yourself, but it's the people that you surround yourself with, and how hard they work and believe. They have got to like believe in what you're doing, really, not just, taking you on because so and so said you're going to be the next big deal or whatever. And I'm not applying that to like anything that's happened with my team or anything in the past, but yeah, I think it's a lot of things: luck, timing, your team, your passion, moving ahead, knowing you're going to get knocked down and got to get back up.
Yeah, yeah. The perseverance aspect. Yeah, I should have mentioned that too, because like one of my big examples for for like songwriters around here and people I talk with is You know, like just because like Buddy Holly, he had everything out by the time he was 22 and he passed away. Or like, you know, Taylor Swift, she blew up as a teenager, and there's so many of those examples. I don't know if people realize how often like somebody is already older. Like, I think by the time like George Strait became quote unquote George Strait, you know, he was already in his late 20s, 30s. You know, like one of my favorite examples is one of my favorite all time songwriters, Terry Allen. He put out the record Lubbock on Everything at 35. So like there's still time for you to make something that is going to be cherished for a long time, or you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's and also like I would say like being nice can go like a long way. Like
Oh
being
my
tolerable
gosh.
can be like incredibly good. You have to be like so super uber talented to be an asshole, I guess.
Yeah, and I've seen they Lori McKenna said it, humble and kind. Like you just this business will humble the fuck out of you. That should be like a bumper sticker. Yeah, kindness and I mean that goes for anything in the world, I think. But yeah, there is kind of that, I don't know the word to describe it, but you know, where you see people only choosing like red M&Ms or green M&Ms for their writer, and yeah, you can't do that. Like you work too closely with people, and there's people that come back around 10 years later and if you were a dick, then are they going to want to put you on a tour or help you or
Right.
you know cheer you on? Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah, it's even though like this industry is massive, this town's still too small for us to not run into each other kind of thing.
Totally.
You mentioned Lori. Obviously, like you've written songs with her, and she's such a, I guess like, you know, especially like these last 5 years or so has been such a major force in country music, and really broken out as a, you know, a songwriter's, I hate that term, the songwriter, but like, you know, obviously she's gotten like so many cuts that are massive and that have gotten praise, and both from like the public and critically. I guess like with working with her, writing with her, what is that like when you sit down with Lori McKenna to write a song?
Like you're sitting down with a god. She's just, listen, Lori has been, speaking of kind, she is the kindest woman, kindest heart. So I flew up to Massachusetts. I was like 18 years old the first time I got to write with her, and I loved her. I discovered her because somebody was like, hey, this woman, you love Patty Griffin. This woman is kind of in the Patty Griffin vein. So I got this record called Bitter Town. And I mean, I was driving around in my red Eclipse in college, just blaring Bitter Town, like just couldn't put it down. And just related so much to, like, you can hear it in her voice, the story, like you can hear the housewife, like that's not just like a team helped build that and put it out in the world and was like, yeah, you'll be the housewife songwriter of country music. Like that's truly who she is. So one of the first times I get on a plane, let alone like a car picks me up, drives me to Stoughton, Massachusetts, and I knock on her door, and the first thing she asked me was, are you hungry, honey? Like I can make you a sandwich? And I was like, okay, I'm okay. Like I was so anxious and so scared, and you know, it was surreal. I couldn't believe it was happening. And so I was like, sure. So she made, Liz Rose was there too, and who I adore. And I ate a sandwich there, and with Liz Rose and Laurie McKenna, and ended up writing 4 songs. You know, but sitting across from her is like experiencing true brilliance. Like, she is meant to do this. Her words, first of all, she's just now getting recognized. She's been writing songs like by herself, like Humble and Kind, for a very, very long time. And I hope that maybe someday those songs that she played me early on will get heard. Because, yeah, I mean, same thing with her. She was back and forth from her home in Massachusetts to Nashville for years and years upon years, writing God only knows how many songs before, you know, Tim and Faith kind of, well, I guess it was actually Faith first, before anybody, then she went on Oprah. So Oprah will help you speed the process up just a hair.
Yeah. You know, I think my favorite quality is of Lori's songwriting is that she captures like the passing of time probably like better than anyone I've ever heard, like in just like a line or like 2 lines or whatever. And like you can just hear, I guess, like you're caught up on all those years and you're like hit with how many they are, or like how long something's been happening in an instant, and it will be heavy and it'll be just like, oh my gosh, like I don't know, like sometimes I feel like I don't know, you'd like see the sand coming out of the sand, what do they call it, I guess, like the, you know what I'm talking about, like where you,
the hourglass.
Yeah, the hourglass. I don't know why I was blanking on that. Yeah, like you just feel all of that come out in like in these songs of hers, like just the passing of time. And I don't know like how she does it.
She's just, I mean, one of the most honest human beings I have ever been in. She's just so honest. I think that's where her brilliance comes from, is just, and being able to have the ability to I mean, she's a poet, she's a storyteller, she's a writer, she's just the ability to put those words together, to string along these most beautiful things and times and poetry that we've felt, and to be able to say it in such a way where it's like so universal.
Yeah. One of the things also that I don't know if there's been, I'm sure there's other examples of this, but one thing that I really like how she does is she'll instead of like naming someone specifically, she just labels them as what they are. And I feel like that does it cuts down on like how you have to explain who this person is, for starters.
Yeah.
So like, but I don't know, like I've not really, I guess like if you go back and look at like somebody like the Gambler, right? You know who that is, but like you don't necessarily think of that as like labeling someone as the Bird and the Rifle, or like the Fixer, or you know, I don't know. I feel like
she does both, man. She does that, like, and then she does the song where she said, "You should have given my name to my Lorraine. Should have given my name to my sister Marie." And that don't mean a thing to you, but it does to me. It's just like, oh my God, like so the line is, "You should have given my name to my sister, or you should have given your name to my sister Marie." And that doesn't mean a thing to you, but it does to me. Yeah. It's just, she's unstoppable. Like, she can do it all. She's just one of the best writers and humans ever. Music will ever know.
Now, obviously, I'm assuming that as time goes by, it becomes your nerves and like are all like settled down as the time goes by writing with Lori. But do you like still like in these situations where you're co-writing with someone that you admire, but are like, have written these giant songs, is there, I feel like I would space out at points and like be too like, oh my God, I'm writing with, or do you like, how do you like, I guess, shut that down and like focus on what's happening as far as like the actual writing?
I think maybe I'm trying to think of this, the initial anxiety of wanting to come in, I wrote a song with Sean and I wrote a song with Karen Fairchild, and Little Big Town cut it on their last album. And I had never written with Karen. I knew her just from like passing backstage areas on like tours and, or age specific tour. But I think for me, the initial anxiety is like, okay, I want to bring in something that is so powerful, or an idea that I think, they're going to love. So I guess maybe calming the nerves is like focusing on the music, focusing on like what you're bringing in to write with them. And then when you get in there, somebody like Lori just makes you feel like complete home. And Karen is just like the coolest, laid back, like there are so many good people in this music industry that are like ready to just help and lend a hand. And so I guess getting in there, you don't really think about it. And then I think like later on at some point it's different. But for me, like later on, then I'm like, oh shit, that happened. Like it's probably like definitely hearing Lori or Karen or Wade Bowen sing something that you wrote with them, like words that like, that's where it's like, okay, whoa, cool. This is real cool.
Yeah. You mentioned Wade. Like obviously Wade is, he went to school here in Lubbock, and I've known Wade for a while. You guys wrote that song Rhinestone for his record with Randy.
Yeah.
I really love this new record by them. Like that. I don't know. Like I feel like they've really captured something that was like not being done, even though it was like kind of like in a way like kind of obvious. Like, hey, we need this kind of record. Where did that song come from? What was like that initial seed of Rhinestone?
First off, I would like to say Wade is my brother from another mother. He has constantly rooted for, like, just helped me. He's so kind. You know that. Anyone that knows him knows that. So the idea for Rhinestone came from another Texan that I absolutely love, Ryan Beaver. And are you familiar with Ryan?
Yeah, for starters, that RX record I think is like in 15 years, people are gonna go, hey, do you remember this record? This record is actually really, really, really great. And I've been kind of like pounding that drum for like since it's been released, basically. Like I love
Timeless.
the just like the sonic qualities of that record is just so, I don't know, like just so strong, and you just feel like that. I don't like the darkness of it, but also like there's like this like really rich velvety aspect to that entire record that I really like.
Yeah, his voice. I mean, he's just so talented. I write with him a lot. So he and I think our publishers had the idea of us flying up to write with Lori together. And so I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And so we went up there, wrote, I think it was the first day. It might have been the first idea. Well, Beaver had told me before that. He was like, I have this idea called Rhinestone. And I was like, shit, that's brilliant. Like, oh my God. And so I jotted down like a few things and kind of was like mulling it over. And then he said it in the room that day, and Lori was just like, oh my God, love it. And so we wrote it, and it was being passed around for, I think, a TV show, and kind of a big way. And then they kind of, it was this thing where it was like, shit or get off the pot. Like they were like, it's still on hold, but we don't know when we're going to record it and this and that. And so, but when Wade and Randy asked for it, I was like, I don't know where it is, where it's like sitting. And it ended up coming off hold, and I was like, cut it. I mean, at that point, it's just like, if they were so passionate about it and I know them personally both so well, and so does Beaver, and actually Lori too. So it was just like a no-brainer. They're just like the best. They've thanked us, all three of us, so many times for letting them cut it. I'm like, are you kidding? This is where it belongs. It's insane. You guys did. It's just so, it happens to be my favorite song on the record.
Yeah.
But I'm kidding. I love it all. But it's, yeah.
Like you talking about like the hold thing, that is probably something someone probably needs to write like an article about, like the holding a song and like that process, because like there are songs that I guess are probably in like purgatory of just being on hold. And I'm sure like with anybody, you've had like these experiences like you're just talking about, like, is it like, please do something with it or let it go, or
yeah,
because you're kind of like put in a little bit of a weird spot, because you're also like, it would be great if you would cut it, but like also if you're not, like, I don't want to like offend you by telling you to let go of it, but that entire, the politics of it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, and I never believed that like the artist doesn't love the song. They're not always just like holding it just to hold it.
Right.
Right. I bet they always have every intention in cutting it, but whatever happens, for some reason, they hold it for so long. And then there are artists that kind of are a little bit notorious for, like, if it goes on hold with them, you're like, this might not happen. and then and then there are other artists where you're like, oh, this is, we got a good chance at maybe getting this cut, because this person doesn't really hold songs. Yeah, the hold thing is, don't ask my grandfather Popo about the holding songs.
next podcast guest.
He got so mad. There was an artist, I don't know if I should say the name or not, but that was like performing a song for like years on the road, and was making a record, and so Popo was really holding on to that, and he didn't end up cutting the song, and that Pops will never get over that one.
Yeah. That's really funny. Like, there's nothing like the wrath of like a grandfather when like something's happened to his grandkids or something. It's
oh yeah. I mean, he's like, I'm gonna burn every album that that person's ever made. No, yeah.
One of the things I was wanting to ask you about, because I feel like there's like the co-writing part, there's such a romanticized thing that happens with just songwriting in general, but with co-writing and with getting cuts, where obviously like the songs that are on this record, you had the intentions of cutting them yourself. These were going to be Ashley Ray songs. But when it comes to a song that you're, I guess, like where you're, or do you know, when it's a song that you're just kind of like, I'm probably not going to cut it, but hopefully this fits in the box for whatever this kind of artist, or you get what I'm saying? What's like the process with that? Like, where do you, the mindset, I guess, where do you kind of go to and do you write differently for that?
Oh, totally. Yeah. That's a great question. Yeah, because I write a lot with other songwriters and artists when I'm not really writing for my project. You know, for instance, right now, there are certain writers that I go in a room with, and you kind of have to think ahead, like, okay, my record's done. Let's maybe focus on writing. If we don't have an artist in the room, let's maybe focus on just writing the best song we possibly can, but not making it, you know, super personal. For me, it's a very clear difference between if I'm walking into a room and writing for myself. I'm usually, if I'm doing that, I'm usually want to be with someone that I've written with before. I feel their vibe. And that I'm comfortable enough writing for me with. Of course, there's, you know, I write for BMG Nashville, incredible publishing company. And my plugger, Courtney, is really good at like setting up like the intentional writes. Like, okay, you're writing with Ryan Beaver today. And, you know, of course, we always get in and try to write the best song we possibly can, but we're both artists. We're both songwriters. We both would love cuts. So we kind of get in there and know, okay, Ryan's not really making a record right now. A-Ray's not really making a record right now. So let's try to write something for, you know, I never get in there and go, let's write for this person. Like that's too, yeah. I never can do that. Some people are so good at it. But I just try to get in there and say, okay, we're not writing for your record. We're not writing for my record. Let's just write the best song we can. And that way our people can pitch and, you know, we have a chance at getting a cut.
Yeah. I feel like if I was in that situation, it would, like, I could never name anyone specifically either because it'd be like, I feel like I would just say George Strait every time. Or, you know, let's just get one of those those cuts. Yeah, like
that's definitely one you want to end up on that record.
This episode is in part brought to you by the Blue Light Live here in Lubbock, Texas. While Blue Light is still closed due to the pandemic, there is a way to help A, support Blue Light, and B, get a sense of that normalcy by visiting bluelightlubbock.com, clicking on the merch tab, and getting some koozies, a vast array of t-shirts and caps, and yes, even a blue light flag. While it is such a bummer that live music is still on hold right now, I'm telling you, by getting some Blue Light Live merch, you're going to feel better. It just feels better wearing a t-shirt and ball cap and helping support your favorite bar. Again, that's bluelightlubbock.com. Click on the merch tab, get some merch. All right, back to the episode.
I've talked with other songwriters about that, and again, I think it's like a little bit of like the romanticized aspect of, or maybe not wanting to go that route, and so they kind of all say, well, I always approach the same way, and I feel like there's no way that could be true. I mean, obviously, for some people it probably is, but I don't know. Like it feels like you would approach it a little bit differently, just because of how it. Just if you had that knowledge, it has to have had a little effect on what the process is. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a little bit of a moving target if you're writing with writing for somebody, because you know they send out tip sheets where it's like such and such is looking for an up-tempo something summer song, and they may have already cut their up-tempo summer song, and so you're writing for this one specific song, but you don't know. You know, I think writing the best song always will find its home, or a lot of times it just, if you write the best song, it'll just go to an artist you don't even know, like, but yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, it's just being a writer, you have to write. Like going in a room, I've got to like feel it. I've got to write it. And like, you know, I'd rather go in a room. I always say this. I'd rather go in a room and sit down with someone and not finish a song, but get like 2 or 3 insane ideas that we're so stoked to write, and then get back the next week or next whenever and have something that we're like excited to write about.
Yeah. Yeah. I obviously like there's this especially like down here in Texas, for some reason people think that what's happening in Nashville is, just the devil's work. Or like if you like people are putting like these songs together like in lab coats, and it's it's a sterile environment, and like I'm like, that's you realize like all these guys from Texas go up to Nashville for starters. I don't know why you're like it's not they're not creating Frankenstein's monster as far as like this song needs this, and this. And now granted, like a lot of songs do sound like that at the end of the day, where you're like, man, this is a, like you kind of said, up tempo summer. Well, from there you kind of like branch off and you kind of know what usually goes along with that. I don't know if we want to go on that tangent, but I was wanting to like ask you.
I feel I know where you are.
About how has like the pandemic affected co-writing? Is it a lot of it? Is there like this weird strangeness to writing like on a Zoom call or anything like that? Or
yeah, there is, and I wish there wasn't, but there is. For me, again, I can't speak for everyone. It's hard because for me, like writing, I feel like it's so intimate, and the connection. First of all, sometimes the connection is shit. I try to write in. I tried to write when I was in Kansas, and my mom lives out like over this lake. We joke like it's the only hill in Kansas, but she lives like down in a valley in the country, and so. It worked out one day and then the next it didn't. So that connection, first of all, is it's a little bit of a struggle sometimes. But the real connection where you're sitting across from somebody and you're hearing, the chords that right there that they're picking out, like the realness, the honestly of being like in a room and creating something with somebody is not. It's a little harder on Zoom because there's something that happens when you're staring into a camera and you're having to wait for that delay. You see their mouth moving. It's just a little bit. It's challenging for me. I have been doing it, but it's a little challenging. So I would say that during quarantine, I've spent most of my time gathering ideas, reading, finding those core big ideas that I am like ready to take to my next sessions. And I mean, there could be another year of Zoom writing, so I probably should get a little bit more comfortable with it. I'm hoping not.
yeah, I don't know. Like it feels like there's some things that just have to be done in person a lot of times, and or at least for specific people. Like for me, I've like this podcast. When I first started it, it was all in person, and that's because there's just something else with when you're doing it in person. You're able to like read that other person a little bit better and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And obviously I've adapted, but like at the end of the day too, I'm doing a podcast and I'm not writing a song about something. I don't know. And there's also probably like the technical issues of like you said, like of the seeing them play, but then maybe you guys aren't on the same page just because of that aspect of where maybe you're not hearing the guitar right because of the connection or whatever the case is,
Yeah. It's But again, at the end of the day, we're writing songs, and I really can't complain. I'm still able to do my job. You know, I waited again. I waited tables for a really long time, and lost after losing a couple record deals and after losing my publishing deal. And I feel for those people so much right now, because, you know, we just went into phase 2 again, which still allows restaurants to be open at half capacity. But I have so many chef friends and so many servers and bartending friends that are just like, you know, I've been baking bread for all of them. I've got I got a sourdough starter from one of my best friends, and I've just like been baking bread for him. I'm like, I can't help you. I don't know what to do. I can just make bread for you. For you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just, yeah, at the end of the day, I can't complain about the Zoom issues, because I mean, there's people that are having a rougher time than I am.
Yeah. For starters, yeah, like it's one of those things where I think whatever you love, like you find a way to nitpick at regardless of what it is.
Yeah.
You find something to complain about. But two, yeah, like the restaurants being open at like 50%, or just certain businesses being closed, or all that kind of stuff. I guess like what that's really done, like I'm not really come from a any kind of background working at a restaurant or anything like that, but with all this, I've realized, like, you know, just the margins of success, especially in the restaurant business, are very, very thin, and is being open at 50%, like really going to be able to do it? Or like, is it one of those things where, like, you know what I mean? There's all these questions that are valid questions to ask on that I don't have the answers for. People probably in the industry have better answers for that. But it is like, is running at 50%, or in some cases, like you've seen people run at 25%. Is that feasible? Is that, and not just with the restaurants, but with other places of business, you know? It's just I don't know. That's another tangent we could go off on, but about like it feels like there's like these different sets of rules for everybody, and maybe, I don't know, like we should be kind of playing by the same rules. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. It's a weird time, and I hope half capacity helps them. But most of all, I hope that everybody, you know, is respectful enough to remain safe and wear their masks when they go out. And I get that you can't eat with a mask on. But yeah, I hope that it works. But yeah, it does seem like there's different sets of rules, and that's a little, that's a whole other tangent.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's been really, really great talking with you about all this stuff right here.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
I feel like we could go on.
Yeah. I'll go and break it off right here for the podcast, since we're coming up on noon here. One thing I wanted to mention though is, or ask you about, was, and I'm gonna like cut it right there, but is what has it been like where like all these bars downtown are like acting like nothing happened? Because like there's been a lot of stuff, I guess, on Facebook of, you know, these Broadway bars of having just, you know, regular shows and stuff. Has that been frustrating down there?
Oh, it's infuriating. It makes me so angry, because, listen, there's so many people. I just want to tell these people, there are so many people that want to get back out on, you know, in the world and do what they do. I want to get back on stage. I want to be, you know, writing in rooms again. And if you're going to go out and be irresponsible and gather in crowds, not wear masks, to go drink at a bar and be silly, I just, all of the bad words. It's not cool. It's not cool. Wear a mask. I mean, and also it's not that hard to stay home most of the time. Like, it's kind of made me love going to the grocery store, because that's like one of the only places that I go to now. And I'm like, cool, I'm getting out of the house. This is really sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, not cool. People out there going to bars and not wearing masks, and then complaining when you get fined or you get shut down. Like, sorry, the world is happening the way it's happening right now. And so we can all get back out and get more, get back to where we were, or some sort of version of it, then we all got to be responsible. Like, that's just.
Yeah. I guess like you'll often hear other people in other countries talk about like the ugly American. And I've always kind of been like, well, we're not all like that. It's not like, but we are like definitely living up to that stereotype of just being super fucking selfish about this.
Yep.
And
but I want to go party with my friends, and so invited me to do this, and I still want to take my vacation. Yeah, we all do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some things as an adult are hard to do. Like and wearing a mask is literally like one of the easier things to do, but not trying to go out all the damn time and just be responsible. I don't know. Like I'm super frustrated by all this as well, just because it's just the hypocrisy in all this. It's they're infringing on my rights, and I'm like, dude.
And they think that. Okay, well, we won't. That's a real big tangent. We'll stop recording and I'll call you back. But it's just, I saw something. I don't know. I don't remember who said it, but it was brilliant. It was like, if you could take medicine right now that it made you 5 times more. What was it? I'm gonna have to find it. I think I screenshotted it somewhere, but it makes you 5 times more like immune to not getting coronavirus. Would you do it? ... It's called a mask.
Yeah.
Like, it's 5 times likely to not get it. Like, it's called a mask. It's not hard. It's like putting on sunglasses or grabbing your keys before you walk out the door. It's just like, get used to it right now. It's what's happening. Mm-hmm. And it's going to keep happening if you don't wear your fucking mask.
Yeah. My grandmother, she's in the medical field, and she has been at the store and like called people out, like, why aren't you wearing a mask? Like, why aren't you wearing a mask? Like, and especially what she was surprised by, she's gone to the grocery store, she's telling me, and seeing other people in scrubs and like without a mask. And it's like, you work either in a hospital or a doctor's office or something, and you're not wearing a mask. Like, what is, so.
Go, Grandma, get him.
I know. I have stopped recording. I wanted to ask you though too, like what artist was it that was playing the song in concert?
Meatloaf.
Oh, really? Meatloaf. He went to Lubbock Christian here. I know that because for like a semester or something like that. Reason I know that was because he has like one of these little 24-hour like breakfast house. We don't have Waffle House here. So like there's like this 24-hour breakfast place here, and I remember walking in one time and there being a framed photo of Meatloaf, and it was because he was like Lubbock Christian alum or something, like on the bottom. Even I think he had only gone for like a semester or something like that. So it was I don't know.
I mean, I'm no longer mad at Meatloaf, but Popo is.
That is really funny though. Like your grandpa just being like, "I'm."
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
if
it
I
could
ever
be,
run into Meatloaf,
there's been people that are more, recent, that he doesn't know their names, that it would be a huge deal and probably it would be more money made with this person, but he knew Meatloaf.
mm-hmm.
and that one he really pissed him off.
Yeah. I don't know, like if maybe that's like something I'll try and pitch to somebody. I don't know if anyone would let me even in on that kind of thing, but like I think there is something really fascinating about the hold, like what songs are like just like kind of like I said, like in that little purgatory, and like like you said, like, oh, if this person holds it, has a good chance of being cut, and if this person holds it, probably not.
Yeah. There's been several times where publishers been like, this person put it on hold, and I'm like, cool, this doesn't make me, I'm not jumping for joy.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, I'm like, we should just pitch it somewhere else. And they're like, it's on hold, we can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, but it sucks, because like I don't go out and say, let's hold this. Yeah, it's just, it is what it. And also back in Nashville's always a little bit behind on music, on like the industry part. So I wouldn't say that like holds really happen as much anymore as like they did when I was just moved here. But I'm sure a hold back in the day meant this person is going to record it.
Yeah. I did a podcast with Clint Black the other day, and he was talking about how, because like he wrote basically everything on any of his records from his debut up to, I don't know, like just a couple records back. But he was saying how, I guess like he had like an anecdote about Reba talking about how she would listen to, upwards of, and I don't know if this number is even is even able to be done, but like would listen to up to like 1,000 demos for a record, and how he was like, I never want to do something like that. So I don't know, like how it was back then too, of like, did Reba like how would you go through and sift through all those kind of songs? I feel like there's a lot of like 5-second listens if that's the case.
Yeah, that happens too, which makes me. That's more of the lab coat thing, where, I mean, they'll listen to a verse and a chorus and be like, turn the song off.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm writing story songs here. Shit doesn't happen till the second verse, so keep listening.
Yeah. Yeah, and this isn't Desolation Row by Bob Dylan. It's not like 20 verses. So, anyways, it's been really great talking with you about all this stuff. We'll have to do it
you
again
too.
sometime.
Yeah, I'd love to do it.
That's it for episode 111 with Ashley Ray. Be sure to check out Ashley's record, The Incredible Pauline, at the end of this week. Check out episode sponsors Desert Door and the Blue Light Live here in Lubbock, Texas. Thanks for listening.